Drew, good to have you on here, sir. Thank you very much.
It's great to be here.
How did you enter the world of music?
Honestly, when I was a kid, probably around 7 or 8, I feel like most kids, well, I guess I go back a little further. So when I was a kid, like a really young kid, I started doing piano lessons, probably like 4 or 5, before I can really even remember anything. And then the piano teacher quit or had a baby or something like that. So then I just went into sports until I was about 8 or 9 years old, and I think I like saw honestly like School of Rock. And around that time, seeing School of Rock, my parents got me a guitar for Christmas, and I just got really good at guitar. Not really good, but I excelled at guitar way faster than I
I'll
did.
say it, very, very good aficionado, if you will.
Thank you. Um, but I excelled at that way faster than I did at sports. But I still did sports and a little bit of guitar. I got, from playing guitar and seeing School of Rock, you get introduced to all these classic rock bands. So I stuck with that up until, freshman year of high school, and I was playing football. And then ultimately I was just like, I'm better at this guitar thing and music, and I like it. I enjoy it a great deal more. So I'm going to choose playing music over, playing sports. So I did that, and was playing in bands all throughout high school. And I had an older sister, 6 years older than me, and she informed heavily, like all of my music taste. As a young kid, from very formative bands, from seeing like Flaming Lips or getting into My Bloody Valentine or Radiohead. Basically, all the stuff that you start listening to when you're in middle school and early high school that kind of like unfortunately sets you on a path to liking indie rock and independent music if you really take to it. And then,
Right.
one thing to led to another, and it just became my entire life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now have the roles reversed. Are you now showing her stuff, or did you ever like, hey, you like this, and I've delved into this? Was that ever switched?
Yeah. I feel like, I can't think of an example off top, but, if there are things that I really enjoy, I'll send it her way for sure. Our tastes are, they differ a lot, but we still, of course, have a lot of overlap in things that we enjoy. Um, but yeah,
Does she dig the music that you've gone on to make? Is that
yeah,
like
she
up her
loves it.
alley?
She's been a huge supporter of it the whole time, and has been very supportive. My whole family has, but yeah, she's been very supportive of everything that I make, and it's always, whenever I post a demo to my SoundCloud or something on my Instagram, she'll always text me and say that she's really enjoying it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
And you believe her, right?
I do believe her. I
Okay.
I, I think that she does take an interest in what I do. I think she sees how much it means to me to make music. So she has a vested interest in keeping up with what I make and what I do creatively.
That's awesome. Now, was this in Indiana?
Yeah, suburb of Indianapolis called Carmel. Uh, Went to that high school. That's where she
Not
went. That's
not
where my other,
Carmel, Carmel.
not Carmel, Carmel. Carmel is, I think, is in California.
Yes. But it's interesting because people really they switch that word up. They go caramel, caramel, Carmel.
Yeah, it's they want to sound fancy. I think is what they're trying to do. You ever seen Joe Dirt?
Yeah, a long time
Uh,
ago, but yeah.
Dude, you got to revisit it. But he calls himself Joe Dirte to, make it sound more fancy.
Put some zhuzh on it.
Yeah, exactly. But it's one of my favorite movies. I think I have actually. Wait, stay right there.
Please. I'm here. I'm here.
This is on my bookcase right now behind me, but I have like a few VHS tapes and DVDs that I like never got rid of over the years. But this is my copy of Joe Dirt that I've had since I was a kid. I used
On
to
VHS. Wow.
on VHS. Yeah, it's probably worn out. I used to fall asleep to it. But I think also, now that we're talking about it, thinking about the seeing this is, what did this come out, 2001? So 2001, 2002, 3, I was, 7, 8, 9. And this has a great classic rock soundtrack. There's Joe Walsh in there, uh, Van Halen, all this like AM 70s classic rock. Watching this as a young kid, thinking about it now, was super informative on my music taste. How do we start talking about Joe Dirt? Oh yeah,
Uh,
Joe Dirte.
well, Joe Dirte, but also, it's just the aura of David Spade
Yeah.
just surrounds. Um, is there any other soundtracks that are just stand out to you for whatever reason? Maybe they're pivotal, or maybe you just really enjoyed them for a certain time. Is there any other ones?
I mean, we already talked about School of Rock, and that's a really good just touchstone of I don't know, jumping off point. If you're especially a young kid into getting into rock, that'll take you down a bunch of different avenues. Because I think the soundtrack to that movie covers a lot of bases. I remember there's Ramones in it as well. There's like a montage to Bonzo Goes to Bitburg or whatever. Movie soundtracks, I can't think of anything off the top of my head right now. I mean, I'm
It's all
sure
right.
there
It's
is.
all right.
Yeah.
If it comes to you at any point,
Yeah.
just go ahead and say it. Um,
Yeah.
now, so this was happening in Caramel, Indiana.
Yeah, exactly. Lovely
Uh,
pronunciation.
thank you.
Where are you at right now? Where are
I'm in
you
Orange
broadcasting?
County, California.
Oh, OC. One of my favorite shows, the OC.
Yes, it's fantastic. It's
It's
really
so good.
it shines a fantastic light on this area.
Dude.
Um, that was big though. It was big. Right,
Yeah,
2005, six.
absolutely. I think they had the Walkmen on that show. They had Death Cab, Rooney, which, California. I think they're from California, right? Rooney? Or am I thinking of Guster? One of the two. Uh, I love that show. I just watched the first season. I usually watch the first couple seasons every fall and winter. It's like a comfort show for
Get you
me.
back into the group. I've never
Yeah.
seen it in its entire, like when it was,
Oh man.
I was young when it was on, and like I knew that about it, and like maybe
Yeah.
my mom would watch it perhaps on occasion. So
How
I
how old are you if you
really,
don't mind me asking?
I'm 25. So
25. Okay. So it's a bit closer to my I'm 30, about to be 31.
mhm.
And it's even a little bit out of my age range. It's more my sister is 36, so it's more in her um that's my eldest sister. It's more in her age range, I think.
Yeah, but we
Yeah.
we snuck in just barely there.
Right. Right, right.
Yeah. The OC. That was big, and then it just kind of, and there's that other one about Orange County as well, I believe, like
Laguna
Laguna
Beach.
Beach. Yeah.
You
Hmm.
know, Ty Siegel is in an episode of Laguna Beach.
I heard that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really funny.
That is funny. Yeah, Pip, one of the pivotal bands to come out of, or musicians to come out of Orange County for sure.
Absolutely. Another hugely just I don't listen to Ty Siegel that much anymore, but I remember just being, you know, mesmerized by the idea that you can be a musician and play everything on your own records and have complete control. And I again, like, not that my music really sounds like him, but I would say that he's a huge influence on, especially in my formative years of, you know, creating an identity as an artist. I really took his approach to heart, and I would still say it influences me today, even though like I don't really listen to him that much anymore. There was a time and a place where that's all I listened to, and DIY recording and being like, oh, actually, you can't just do everything yourself and have a control over your vision. I really took that to heart. That, and of course, like I remember also being from Indiana and hearing about Guided by Voices, who's another just like hugely just has a monumental influence on how I want to make music and how I want to continue making music. Knowing that they were just from an hour and a half away from where I grew up, and they just really embodied this. We're doing everything ourselves, and it was just another completely like revolutionary idea that like took hold, and for better or for worse, something that I wanted to emulate or I just knew that that was the way I wanted to make music and for the rest of my life.
Yeah, and it's just so great when you have those people like in your area. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
it's possible where I am standing at this point
Yeah.
right here. One of your first groups that you're involved with was Hoops, right?
Yep. Yep.
And that was in Bloomington, where that all got
Bloomington
started,
and
right?
yep, that's right.
What was the music scene out there at that time like?
There was, yeah, I mean, it's a college town, so a lot of different crap was going on. There's tons of talented musicians in Bloomington, and I think it always has been that way because that's just the way small college towns kind of that's just kind of how they work. It's a bunch of young and older people, but a bunch of people with a lot of energy, and they're interested in doing something. And there weren't a lot of bands like us. That's not to say that we were super unique, because at the time when we were doing Hoops, like I just wanted to sound like that band Tops. I wanted to sound like Tops and Prefab Sprout. But in Bloomington, what was going on? Um, there was a really good punk scene there that was kind of it's centered around a few DIY venues and houses and some bands like Bug and Laughing Gas. They were kind of involved in this DIY punk scene that I really gravitated towards at the time while I was doing Hoops, even though we didn't really sound anything like that. I
But
just
you
really,
appreciated it nonetheless because it's music
yeah,
and
and
they're
then
doing it, right?
exactly, and that's the I really liked that was happening there, even though my music wasn't really involved with it. I still did take a lot of inspiration from the people that were doing that sort of thing in Bloomington. Yeah. And then there's older guys that have been there doing it for a long time, like Mike Adams, who are just excellent songwriters. And they um, yeah, I guess there was a lot of things happening and still happening in Bloomington. They kind of
Yeah.
fly under the radar, whether that's by choice or if it's just people just making good music, and they aren't super concerned with like uh, making it or whatever that means today. And I hope that doesn't sound condescending. I don't want that to sound condescending
No,
either.
no, I don't.
Yeah,
No, it's just because that's just a huge term there.
yeah,
Yeah, and you got to kind of put it in quotations because it just means different things to
yeah,
different people. Um,
right,
two people, two groups that come to mind when you say Indiana is Duran Jones and Indications and
yeah,
Frankie and the Witch Fingers, which are
right,
more newer artists. But like, yeah, I mean, like those two sounds very different, kind of
totally.
coexisting in the same area
I remember
at the
seeing
same
Frankie
time.
and the Witch Fingers when I was still in high school, and being that was another like, oh, cool things are happening in Indiana. Um, Again, like I don't sound anything like that or made music that sounded like that, but it was inspirational to chase my own, or to take my own music very seriously, or something like that.
Now this around this time of hoops kind of getting off the ground, that was 2011, right?
Yeah, that's when I mean, I was still in high school, so I was just doing like sound collage, keyboard stuff. It wasn't like fully formed pop songs until I got to
Real deal
college.
full form stuff. I understand.
Yeah, but I was like, when I was in high school making that, it was like synth drone, like fuck, what was that label that I really liked? Like Underwater Peoples, I think is what it was called. Them and Old English Spelling Bee. They put out a lot of like drone cassette, like just bunch of cassette crap. I don't know. And I really liked that. Just the kind of like, I'm gonna set up a tape recorder and try and sound like One a Tricks Point Never, who was another huge influence on my music early on. And now it's so crazy to see, like, listening to him for 16 years at this point, and now he's scoring some of the biggest movies that are happening. It's wild. But yeah, it started out as Casio synth drone wannabe uh, avant-garde music. I was just trying to be cool or make lo-fi crap.
Yeah, so you, I mean, you kind of had an idea of how you wanted this the sound of the band to be, even
A
in those
little
earlier
bit.
stages. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely changed really quickly when I was like, oh, I want to start writing guitar pop songs. There was definitely like a change really quickly, and that's when Kevin and Keegan and I got together and um, kind of changed what the band was very initially in those very early stages, which was just guitar loops and synthesizers.
And were you expecting a change like that at that time? Or it's like it's eventually going to evolve, or was it kind of a shock like, oh, okay, this is cool, this is a new direction, and you maybe weren't anticipating it.
I think there was a very conscious like decision to change the sound of the band, at least on or the sound of the project. I wouldn't even call it a band yet, but I did know that I wanted to go from just like not just fucking around on keyboards to like, oh, I want to write songs. I want to write pop songs. I want to write guitar pop songs that sound this way. I'm listening to tons of Ariel Pink and Mac DeMarco and all these people at the time that wrote very tightly wound pop music, and I was like, oh, I want to do that. And then that's around the same time I've started really appreciating Prefab Sprout and Michael Jackson and all this old pop music. I just knew that I wanted to do stuff like that, or
Great.
like Destroyer as well was like that record could put. I knew that I wanted to follow this avenue of like smooth guitar pop, synth pop music.
I believe you. I do. Drew, that's the first truth that's come out of your mouth since we started recording, and I'm glad we're finally back on track. Um, so this was a college. I mean, it came out of your the origin of this came out of your college years of just kind of
Yes.
playing around. Was there a point that you felt like Hoops was had achieved, and I'm gonna borrow one of your mannerisms here for a moment, success. Kind of putting
Uh,
that into air quotes there. Whatever that meant for
uh,
you.
no, because I was still broke. Not that like, not that like, not that like, uh, not that like making it means you make money, but to a
It
certain
helps.
extent, I think I never wanted to be like rich and famous, but to a certain extent, I think making it with music is you either put out something you're very proud of and you don't really care if you make money, or I don't know. I think making it to me would have been like, oh, I just live off my music and I don't have to have a job outside of that. I guess that's making it, but things change. And my desires now as a musician are, I have a job, I work every day. And now making it would just mean putting out a body of work that I'm really proud of. And there are some things with hoops that I'm really proud of, but I don't think that, the band ended and I don't. I think I get more artistic fulfillment out of what I'm doing now because now with Playland, I feel like it's a bit amorphous and I can, or nebulous maybe is the right word. I could kind of do whatever I want and explore all these different avenues of, uh, I don't know, sound. That sounds so cheesy, but like it's not very bound to like one guitar pop sound. It's more just I like when people ask me what Playland is. I'm like, well, it's just like alternative rock, and that can cover a lot of bases, and it can mean a lot of things. Indie pop, but I guess to get back to your question, I guess I'm meandering a bit,
No,
but
I like the path that we're going down. Drew,
yeah,
please continue.
there are yeah, I guess in some aspects I made it with hoops, um but I guess not too. I don't know. It's a hard question to answer.
I
Um
mean that's what this podcast is built off of. It's just
yeah,
some hard questions.
hard hitting journalism.
Hard hitting journalism. No one else is doing
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
Do factors outside of music have a large effect on your music
In what regard?
in regard of inspiration? Uh, like getting inspired. through something that has nothing to do with music at all.
Um, yeah, I mean, just I think it's hard to I think it's hard to only be an artist, and it, it's not that's not like real life. I think you have to live your life in tandem with being an artist. It can't just completely. Um, I mean, I guess that works for some people. It doesn't for me. Like, I want to write music about being a normal person and living a normal life, and that means you have to go through living a regular life and going to work and your car breaking down or having other hobbies, because all of those things informed a nuanced perspective on the world. I mean, if you're just making music all the time, and what like what do you really have to say other than that could sound really ignorant too, but I think some of my favorite music comes from every some of my favorite lyrics and music comes from just everyday regular people that live their life and are able to take their lived experience and turn it into music. Like that's really important. um that's what music is about. It's about condensing complex feelings about your life and putting them into a song. And I don't think that if you don't have a lot of experience in life, you don't really have that much to say.
Right, right.
That's not to say that like I have anything super important to say,
I'll say it.
and I don't want this to sound like I think I have anything important to say. At the end of the day, I just like living my life, and I like being able to take these experiences and things that I learn and turn them into songs. It doesn't mean that like my perspective or life is more important, or the things that I have are more important to say than
Yeah,
anybody else.
right, right.
Because ultimately, like art and expression, it's like it's not that important. The things that we all have to say. A lot of, I mean, of course, like some artists have really important things to get out and they can affect the world. But like a guy like me, like I never want to make the mistake of taking myself too seriously as an artist. And I think a lot of people, like, I think sometimes people forget that they're just making art, and like art can affect people, but also sometimes when you take it too seriously and you lack humility about your little songs, your little art projects, it can kind of come off like you're up your own ass. And like that can make for like really it can it can almost like not let people in, if you think that your work is if you think of your work as, you know
Grandiose.
yes, exactly. And I don't find myself attracted to a lot of art like that,
Yeah.
that is like begging for people to like dissect it and pay attention to it. I think you can say very poignant and serious things without, being pompous or taking yourself too seriously. I think humility is very important when it comes to art.
And join us over on Patreon. Drew's going to tell you every single band that has
Oh man.
pompous lyrics. So yeah,
Woo!
please join us behind the paywall so
Yeah.
we could really get into it.
Yeah. You get a couple beers in me and we're sitting at the local dive bar. I'll be like, fuck that fucking band.
I'm bringing two microphones anyway. It's gonna be an after hours kind of a podcast,
Yeah,
so stay tuned for
exactly.
that.
Um, but yeah, I guess, and I guess, yeah, a lot of music that I'm attracted to, that I love, is just made by regular ass people. But there are some exceptions, of course, like there always are exceptions,
Right.
But um,
So it's rule of thumb for you.
yeah, I really like boring music. Boring. Like one of my favorite bands is Yo La Tengo, right? On paper, band's not very interesting. Like I've talked to people about this before, but like it's just it's kind of boring music, but it also is so unmistakably Yo La Tengo every time you hear that. And that is like, I think especially in nowadays, it's really hard to craft that identity. Like you hear a Yo La Tengo song and you immediately know it's that band. And it's just piano, some drum brushes and feedback and some dude or the Ira or Georgia just kind of like lazily singing some lyrics about nothing. The ingredients, they don't sound that interesting, but then when you hear the band, it's like, wow, this is one of the best things I've ever heard in my life. How do they do this? Some of their parts, I guess. I don't know. I'd say this as they're one of my favorite bands, and I don't want to actually call them. They're not boring. It's just like,
Well, and
uh,
they went behind the paywall and said some stuff about your music, so I think that we're
yeah,
pretty even.
yeah, with beef.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a big beef brewing on this here podcast.
yeah,
No, I understand what you're saying though.
yeah,
There's some sort of certain things that certain bands have that just speak to everyone. It's like I like
yeah,
this band because of this, because I perceive
hmm
them as this, and music is of course always subjective. So
yeah.
yeah. Um, we'll uh we'll get the paperwork on the lawsuit going soon, Drew. Do you try to look for these experiences or like something to write about in day-to-day every life or everyday life, whether it be at work or driving around or whatever
Absolutely.
these things are? Okay.
Yeah, I think coaxing. I think it's a really, some people are way better at it than others, but coaxing a song out of something mundane is a skill. And turning the mundane into something profound sounding, finding something profound about everyday life, I think is awesome. It's such a lazy word, but I think that's really cool, and that's something that I would like to get better at. But I try to, you know see songs or ideas for songs or in phrases or the way I interact with people, or like my song Shop Rag. I was working on my motorcycle and I needed a shop rag, and I was like, oh, that could be a song. Like that sounds like a nice name for a song. And that's actually taking from Guided by Voices playbook, where I read where Robert Pollard was like, sometimes I'll name a song first and then I'll write a song based off of the name that I come up with it.
Yeah, which is crazy, a crazy way to
Yeah.
do that. And I've heard people express that before that that's happened.
Yeah.
I think that's so. I mean, it's fantastic, but it's so like, oh my gosh, like where do you start with that? Um,
Um,
So where do you start with it? No, I'm just kidding, Drew. I'm not. We're not getting into that today. Again, that's Patreon bar business.
yeah.
Um, has that always sort of been the case, trying to find these songs in these everyday experiences, or is it something that has evolved over time and is now the the modus operandi?
It's evolved over time. There's not really one set way that I write a song anymore. It used to be music first, then lyrics and melody, but now it could be, you know, now it's kind of like a toolbox of things that I've developed over time as someone that's trying to get better as a songwriter. So maybe sometimes it'll just start with like a melody in my head that I hum into the phone, or it'll start with like a phrase that struck me in a way that I thought was profound or meant something to me. Um, or they'll hit both at the same. I'll start playing, a couple chords and the melody will hit, and then it'll just come out immediately. A lot of the time in the past, stuff, I would do an entire song just in one afternoon, and it would all just hit like that. But nowadays, the process is a bit more drawn out. Um, but I guess it just depends on. I guess it just depends on the song.
Yeah, it's a super finicky kind of thing that we're
Yeah,
talking about. Anyways, there's no
yeah,
real set way it could happen that way that you just described, or a completely different way.
yeah.
Which is what's really interesting about music.
Hmm.
The art of making music. There's not a lot of different modes of art that kind of operate in that way. Like
Yeah,
that paint has to go on a brush to go on a canvas.
yeah.
Like that's the good starting point. But sometimes there's just no starting point for any songs.
And even a song, like I can hear a song that I really like, um, and I'll just be like, I want to make a song like that. Like I want to do my version of that. And they can either come out sounding very similar or not at all. Like sometimes I'll write songs and I'll show it to people. I'm like, oh, I was trying to rip off this Matthew Sweet song. If you ever listen to him, he's great. He's a power pop guy from the 90s. But a song that I'm working on for my next record, um, I was really obsessed with one of his songs called I've Been Waiting. And I was like, I really want to make a song like that. So I learned it, and then I learned the chords and then switched them around and started singing like my own melody over his song or some of his similar chords. And then I ended up fully recording the song, and I was like, oh yeah, this is influenced by this Matthew Sweet song. And some people were like, I don't, what are you talking about? And then other people are like, oh, this sounds like Matthew Sweet. So I guess it depends.
That's really interesting. Wow.
Uh, but I lost my train of thought. So I've never done this before.
You have a knack for it, Drew. You're doing fantastic.
It's one of my favorite things. Music clearly is, one of my favorite things. And I think it's really, especially you seem very enthusiastic about it. And it's fun to uh, dissect why we do these things as songwriters or enjoyers of music. I think it's just so much fun to talk about and nitpick. Everybody has their own taste, so it's fun to nitpick with someone that very clearly cares so deeply about it and have like a fun conversation about it. So I'm really enjoying this.
I appreciate you saying that, Drew. And for all the naysayers in the comments that say I don't care. So when did Playland form? When was that?
That was 2017. I had another band in high school called Winslow, which it was like alt rock. It sounded like Dinosaur Jr. basically, just like fuzzy guitars. So that's always been something that I really liked. And had just gotten done doing like a Hoops record or something, and I had written these other songs that were just like loud alt rock, you know, Guided by Voices inspired, Smashing Pumpkins inspired, and I recorded them and put them out, and people really liked it. So I just kept doing it, and over time, the sound of Playland evolved with my expanding taste in alternative rock and pop music and power pop, and it's just been a really fun avenue to explore my taste and regurgitate the things that really inspire me and the things that I really like.
So I mean, you set out with this project to kind of move away from what you were doing with Hoops, in terms of
Yeah.
sound. It's like this is not. I
Yes.
don't want this to sound like this anymore.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And
I
getting
wanted it to
back,
be.
please.
I wanted it to be, louder and more, robust, but I still wanted it to maintain like a very, you know, uh, I still write the songs the same way. Like it's just a different palette. Like I could draw a lot of similarities between song structure in the old Hoop songs and Playland songs. I write the songs the same way. It's just I choose to use loud guitars and take on a different affect and sonic palette, I guess. But
Yeah,
at the core, I'm still just writing pop music.
it's still there if you
Yeah,
just dig a little bit deeper.
yeah.
Uh, Now, was this happening kind of simultaneously with Hoops or at the end of Hoops and moving into this, or was it like a
So
clean break?
simultaneously,
Okay.
yeah. And then I just kept doing it and keep still doing it, and I never wanted to like. At one point, I thought about like having a solo project under my own name, but I think just Playland sounds cooler. And I don't need to have my own name be the center of attention. And I don't know. I just really like the name Playland. I think it sounds cool. It sounds like
Yeah,
a '90s alt rock band.
it certainly does.
Yeah.
Um, Now the next journey into music with the next
Hmm.
project is just going to be your name, and I'm looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder what that would sound like.
Time will tell, so just keep your eyes peeled. Now,
Yeah.
with the overlapping of time with Hoops and
Mhm.
Playland, was it really maybe not difficult, but interesting to see like how these two knobs were turning in two different directions? Like, all right, now I have to get back into this kind of mode that I am leaving and going into more of this or more of that, whichever way it might have gone.
No, because I think that since for as long as I've been making music, I've been making a couple different kinds. I've always been like, scatter shot of like doing something over here, doing something over there, doing something here. Because at the same time as Playland, I was doing this hardcore punk band called Matrix, which sounds nothing like any of these two bands. It's just fast 80s inspired, US hardcore. And I think that actually having an avenue to do all these different things, they inform and inspire each other. If I don't have an idea over here, or if I am really working hard on something, that juices gets flowing, and then I can switch to like writing this type of song or this type of song. I think it actually having a few irons on the fire, I think is what they call it. It really helps me inform one thing or another that I'm doing.
One hand washes the other in terms of that.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
It's all coming together now. I understand.
Yeah.
Um, what was the first release from Playland? What was
Uh,
the very first one?
it's called First Thing. It is on YouTube still. And yeah, it's just super blown out indie rock. Sounds like a old Guided by Voices recording, which is exactly what I wanted.
How did you feel when that was released?
I was really stoked. It was I don't know. Other than I was just happy to have it out, and I played some shows, and it sounded really cool. And I was happy to have a band again that sounded like that for the first time since high school. Um, I didn't want to be pigeonholed as the guy that was just in the pop band trying to do jangly chorus guitars for the rest of his life.
Are you ever anxious about releasing something new or like the launch of a new project?
I think nervousness and just that I would like people to like it. There's not a huge amount of anxiety because at the end of the day, I try not to put out things that I'm not happy with myself. So if I do put it out and I'm really happy with it, but not that many other people like it, it's not that big of a deal. It's not like my life is dependent on it anymore. I still got to go to work and I'm still putting out music. It's kind of a win. Um, yeah, I guess the anxiousness would just be, I hope people like this. Um, but doesn't mean if they don't, I'm not going to stop making music.
Right. So, oh, no one liked it. That's it. I'm
Yeah.
done. You gotta pull the
Yeah.
plug.
Shit,
Uh,
man, it's not working out. 31.
oh,
It's not
no,
paying off yet. What the hell?
I quit my job. I was kind of banking on Spotify money to just
Yeah,
kind of keep me afloat for a bit.
it is crazy. So, Hoops, have you ever listened to The Clientele?
The clientele, no, I don't think so.
So, they're an amazing British band. Also, another just going back to how I was talking about Yellow Tango, but just a very like normal band that on paper it's just guitar, bass, and drums, and the vocals are run through. I mean, on their early records, run through like an old Fender Twin Reverb. So it's like on paper, it's just like, oh, guitar, bass, and drums. A guy, British guy, singing. It's not like the ingredients for something that you would think of as really great, but they are really the sum of their parts. Because it's just beautiful music, beautiful indie rock. I You should check out the record Suburban Light.
I'll check it out.
It's one of my favorite records of all time. But again, some of their parts just beautiful music. Anyway, they were putting out music in the late '90s and early 2000s, and we're always kind of a cult band. Um, but Hoops went on tour with them, opening for them when they did a U.S. tour. Almost 10 years ago, 9 years ago, but it was really interesting talking to them because I had never thought of them as like a huge band. I always knew that they were kind of just like a steady working indie rock band, right? They were never huge, but they were critically acclaimed, right? But we were on tour with them and they were like, man, it must be, and this is paraphrasing, so don't attribute this quote to this band, but
This is
we had this,
verbatim.
yeah, but we had this conversation about how when they were our age touring, back in the late '90s and early 2000s, they could live off of CD sales and touring. And again, they were never that huge of a band. They were critically acclaimed and successful. Again, successful, but now they have to tour as older gentlemen, and they just thought it was so crazy that we were doing it because we don't make any money off of selling CDs or vinyl anymore. Like uh, I forget what point I was trying to make, but
About
I
what
think
we were
it.
talking before about like just Spotify money.
I think we were taught. What got me thinking about this was it's crazy that you used to be able to make it on indie rock. You used to make it by, not make it, but you used to get by on just having a band that people like to see. You didn't have to be massively successful, but people bought your CDs and came to see you play. And
And
now you
you
have
can
to
make
like,
rent and live.
yes, yeah. Indie rock could pay the bills at one point, but now it's like, I don't even know how that works anymore. I know people that do it, but it's like mind blowing that they can.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Do
especially
you,
if I knew a lot of musicians in New York, and some of them are in, really successful bands, but they still have to wait tables. Like,
we'll just say it, it's geese. Okay.
yeah, exactly.
I think they're from New
No,
York,
I don't know any of those
or
guys.
maybe they're New Jersey. Anyways, they're East
I
Coast
think they're New
kids.
York, yeah,
Okay. Okay. All
but
right. So I stand by my original joke. It's
yeah,
geese.
yeah. Man, that whole thing is crazy. I don't understand it. I don't think they're bad, but I just like it's not my thing at all. But
Yeah. Right.
it is crazy to see how wildly successful they are. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
Um, yeah. Yeah. They're making it off indie rock, it seems. Definitely Cameron Winter is. Good for him.
Um, Cameron, whenever you're ready to come on the podcast,
Yeah.
just shoot me a message. Now, do you work on music alone now? Is that how you're doing it?
Yep. Yep. I still do. I do all the art and I record almost everything. My friend Paul, who you've actually interviewed, Paul Cherry.
Yeah, shout out to Paul Cherry.
Yeah,
Awesome
Paul's
guy.
a good.
Please go back and listen to that episode. Yeah,
Yeah,
great guy.
Paul's awesome. He's been one of my longtime friends for going on almost a decade now. But um, I've recorded a couple songs with him. He owns a studio now out in LA. I went and made a song with him last summer, and I'll probably do another one um, this year, I hope. But for the most part, I record everything on my own. But if I want something really hi-fi, I'll have Paul do it. He's done 2 songs on my new record.
He's the guy to go to for
Yeah,
this sort of business. Yeah.
we have a very Paul is like he's a lot like Kevin Crowder from Hoops. And Keegan too. I'm just able to communicate the way I want something to sound. It's not that hard to communicate with him as another musician. Sometimes when you work with other people, it can be really hard to articulate the sound that you're going for or the type of song you're going for. But I in life you meet a few creative partners that like really get it, and it's like a cakewalk. It's just so easy. And Paul is one of those people that I don't even have to tell him how I want a song to be produced or sound or engineered. He just knows exactly what I'm going for.
That's amazing, and it's such a
Yeah.
it always seems like it's a very difficult conversation to have just to
Yeah.
convey because
Mm-hmm.
you're talking about a sound that you want to
Yeah.
implicate. It's just yeah, it's there's some there's some difficulties in the nuances of creating
Yeah.
music sometimes.
So I'm
Uh,
thankful to have
but
someone like
not with
him.
Paul though. Paul,
Yeah.
a consummate professional.
Yeah.
Yeah, pure grooves.
Yeah. He's awesome. He's also just one of my him and his wife, my shout out, just two of my favorite people in the entire world. Lovely people.
It's time that Paul got his flowers, and I'm glad that we're doing it now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what is the difference between making music with other people and primarily making it on your own? What is the main difference between those sets?
I mean, one you have complete control, and the other you have to, it's like driving one of those cars they teach people to drive in, where there's two steering wheels. Um, it's been a while since I've like actually collaborated on making a song. Like the last time I did that was in this punk band that I play in. Me and my friend Judah, who's another, one of like the 10 people I've met in my life that like we have the same taste in, United States hardcore punk. So when we write songs together, we don't really have to communicate ideas that much, or when we do, it's just so effortless that like, you know, he's a creative partner. It's been a while since I've like uh just like jammed with someone or tried to write a song with someone that like I know doesn't have my exact taste. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, I feel like there's this joke where like you're at work. I feel like I've seen a meme about this, but like your coworker figures out you play music and they're like, "Do you want to jam?" And you're like, "Not really." I know that's like mean, but it's like I've had people do that before, and I'm just like, man, I already got my own thing going. I'll play in your band, but like I don't really. No, I don't really want to jam with you. I feel like I've seen that like a musician's meme about that before. Like we
Right.
should jam sometime.
It's like, should we? Do we have to? Is this an
We could just be
obligation?
friends.
Yeah. No, I like you,
Yeah.
man. I like you already. Yeah. Is there a different sense of satisfaction though when you finally complete a song and it's finished, with working by yourself, as opposed to working as a collaborative group in a band? Is there a different sense of that? Like, oh, I did this or whatever it may be.
Yeah. I don't know how to parse this out. Definitely. So like when I'm working with Judah, because it's the freshest example I can think of, like when we write a punk song together and our ideas come together, it's like, damn, like we just did this together and it sounds awesome. We play through it, we record it. We're like, you get to like high five someone else because you shared that, this bond. Like making music with someone is like, I think people forget that it's so intimate. It is such an intimate thing. Sharing a stage with someone, playing in a band, you're connecting on a level that is, people always want to talk about flow state. It's just a different way of communicating or having a with not to sound so cheesy, but we should be cheesy about something so important. But like it's like having a good conversation with somebody. You get it's an intimacy that is unlike any other form of intimacy. So yeah, when you make a song and finish it with someone, you are connected. Your brains are firing on similar cylinders or whatever you want to say, and there is great satisfaction and camaraderie that can come out of that. Um, and then when you make something by yourself, I find it's one of the best feelings in the world finishing a song, and I get to listen to it 100 times because you're making something. You should be proud of what you make. If you're a musician, like you don't want to make something that you don't like, so when you make a song, you're making something exactly that you like. So there's not a better feeling of having it done, and then you get to sit and listen to something exactly that you want to hear. Um, and that is a great feeling. I love listening to my own music when I finish it. It feels really good. And then that fades, and then you got to do it again. Chasing the dragon.
Always chasing the dragon. Now,
Yeah.
the most recent example of this, Playland 2, just came out
Yeah.
pretty recently. For the
Yep.
not the first initial release of it, but the first time on vinyl, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Um, what was that like, kind of finally having it? Because I'm assuming it was just a digital release up until this
Yeah.
point.
I was just on YouTube for since COVID, basically.
Living on YouTube.
And yeah, just had it on YouTube. And then my friend Sam, who's been putting out my record, Smoking Room, has been a long time Hoops and Playland fan, and he wanted to put it out because he loves that record, and I'm really happy to have it out because I'm really proud of all of those songs on there. Um, and the fidelity jumps and the sound of the band changes, I think, like 3 times on that record, and I think it really that record is emblematic of the types of records that I want to keep making, where it kind of dabbles into my pool of influences, and you get a different side of what I'm interested um, on the given day that I've written the song. So there's some, you know, the first track is really influenced by Yola Tango because they'll start with instrumentals and very, swelling instrumentals, and then it goes into 2 power pop songs, 2 songs that clearly I was listening to a fuck ton of Magnetic Fields, and I was just like, I want to make a song that sounds like that. To back into, you know, indie rock and shoegaze, and then ending with some finger picking guitar. I guess I just want to continue records that um, showcase my interests in music, um, and you get a little slice of that. I think going back to Ty Segall, he the way that he was making records at one point. One of my favorite records by him is Twins. It's the yellow one, and
Mm-hmm.
that record, I remember hearing that and like, yeah, there's groupings of 2 or 3 songs that sound like each different point in his career up to that point, and I just thought that that's a really cool way to make a record, is have the songs speak for themselves rather than the body of work as a whole. But I think the trick is if you can do that, but also make it sound like a fully realized, cohesive whole, it's a win-win, right?
Right.
Right. Because you
Difficult
get something like,
balance point
yeah,
between those two for sure.
because you get a band like Guided by Voices where Alien Lanes or B1000, two of arguably their best records, and the ones that most people know, but you know, those are all 1 minute, 2 minute songs, and it's just like a crash. It's like a fucking car crash of ideas. But you can pick out individual songs. You know, the whole records don't sound like, the songs go from pop to like freakouts, but you can take the songs individually, or you can listen to that whole record, and it works either way.
Right.
But it's not bound to like, you know, I like the idea of being all over the place, but also being cohesive. Because if you're a good songwriter, then you can do that.
Yeah.
And I want to
And
be a good songwriter.
well, and you're doing it.
Thank
Um,
you.
what do you get from continuing to make and release music? What do you get from this experience?
Um, I get to be, I get to make things that I'm proud of, and I get to hone my skill, and I get to, um, and I don't mean to sound this in a cocky way, but I get to get better, and I get to look at other work that people are putting out, and I get to be inspired by it and want to better myself. I think it's the practice of honing a skill, and I want to get really good at it, and I want to continue to better myself as a songwriter and a lyricist. So I guess that falls under
I was gonna
songwriter
say it was a bad answer, and then you added a lyricist at the end. I was like, okay, he
too.
fixed it.
I think he brought it back.
He wrapped it all up.
Yeah,
Drew, thank you so much for coming on here, man. I really
yeah, man, this has been
appreciate
great.
our conversation here. But before I let you go, we got some
Uh-huh.
promo to do here. So
Yes.
Hoops in Playland is streaming everywhere. Wherever people get their music, that's where they can
Yep.
find you, right?
Yep.
Perfect. And people can purchase the most recent release that we were just talking about, Playland 2, through
Yeah.
Smoking Room Records website, smokingroom.bigcartel.com. I really like that label. They're putting out some
Sam's
great
great.
stuff. Yeah.
He's got a good eye for, you know, he's just good taste in music and songwriting, and I think he's got a good eye. He's got a good ear for it, and
Ear and eye, yeah.
I think people like him are really important within music. I don't have enough good things to say about Sam.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome stuff happening there.
Yeah,
And uh the best place to follow your stuff, your shows and releases and all this good stuff is by following you on Instagram. Is that the best
yep,
place?
yeah. Playland period webpage.
Okay. On
Yep,
Instagram.
yep.
Uh and do we have anything else to plug before we cut you loose here, Drew?
I'm working on a record. I'm trying to finish it. I'm trying to figure it out. I got about 8 out of 10 songs done, and I'm just trying to figure out the last two, and then hopefully it'll be out later this year on Smoking Room. It's got some of my favorite songs I've done to date, and it's something I'm really proud of. So I'm excited to put it out, and I think it'll resonate with people.
The big stuff
New
coming
and old
out.
fans alike. Yeah, it's not like a crazy change or leap forward. I just think it's a more refined version of what I've been doing, and I'm really happy with that. Maybe after this one, I think like after this one, I think I'm going to challenge myself a bit more to, you know, step outside the box a little bit and make different sounding music. But for now, I see this next record as kind of like my defining statement of this era of Playland.
Drew, cannot thank you enough. Really appreciate you coming
Yeah,
on here. I'm gonna stop recording this. I'll talk to you in a minute. All right.
cool. Sounds good.
Thank you.